So, hello and welcome all for third week's problem solving sessions, or whatever we are calling this. Okay, so 2 weeks have passed by. I hope this week is kind of the theory covered in lectures is also a bit heavier. But if we try to remember the formulae, then the numericals are also easy. And this week is kind of scoring for everyone. Like, if you want to score, then make sure that you are thorough with this week's concepts and formulas. So if you kind of by heart the formulae, then this week is very good from scoring and from exam point of view. So if you haven't watched this week's lectures, then I would suggest that please go and watch this week's lecture. It will be very good because we will not be covering all the theory part, but instead what I will be doing is I will be sharing a list of formulae which you will be using and for numerical solving in this week. So that I will be sharing with you. Also, I'm not sure if NPTEL is sharing the PDFs which I'm using during our session. Okay, so we'll try to follow from next week onwards. If Let's give them one more week's time. So if they are not doing that, then I will put all my PDFs on a Google Drive of my own, and then I will create link every week for the folder. So that folder will have all the previous week's PDF which I am using. So the short theory, the important points which we cover in the beginning of the lecture, you will have access to that. So while preparing for exam, or if there is any time crunch, then you can use those what you can say, the concentrated gist of every week as your revision tools. Okay, so I don't mean to scare you, but this week's content is kind of very interesting, and if you want to score in exam, then don't miss week three's lectures, and don't miss week three's formulae. So so this week we are starting with machine learning concepts. But as even Professor Ramkumar Rajendran has clarified that this will be a no code introduction to analytics tools. So even though we will be learning about concepts of machine learning, but that will be without any coding or going into theory. But yes, Ria, we will be kind of going through the confusion matrix, and Pearson's correlation is not in this week. This week is machine learning algorithms. That is week 4. What you are asking, confusion matrix and Pearson correlation, is from week 4. So we'll be covering that in next week. Don't worry. Today we will be doing types of machine learning and what are the matrices used to evaluate machine learning algorithms. So there are many automated tools and websites available online, where you don't need to understand the coding behind machine learning algorithm, but we just need to understand what pipeline is followed or what steps are followed for implementing machine learning algorithms. But we need to understand which algorithm gives us better output, so that we can choose appropriate algorithms for our analysis purposes. So even if we don't want to do any research study, but we should understand which machine learning algorithm is better. So that's why in today's week we will be in this week, like week 3, the main focus is on the matrices which are used to evaluate the machine learning algorithms. Okay, so we will not be going to theory part, how that formula came up, but we will be seeing how that formula to implement and how to interpret performance of that particular machine learning algorithm based on the numbers which are thrown as those matrices. Hmm? So this tree diagram is kind of overview of, excuse me. Yeah, so this tree diagram is kind of overview of what types of machine learning algorithms are there. So machine learning is divided into two types of algorithms: supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So supervised learning, as in there is some historical data available, where we there are some labels associated, or there are some values associated of dependent variable and independent variable. So there are some set of independent variables which determine the value of dependent variable. Yeah. So dependent variable can be a categorical value, can be a numerical value, continuous numerical value, and so on. So what happens is there is a data, historical data, or the data which you have collected, that is already there, and based on that data um, we are training our module, our machine learning algorithm. So that becomes supervised learning. Supervised as in there is a data which is supervising the algorithm. Yeah, that's why it is called supervised learning. Now, classification and regression. As I have said, that it could be categorical data, the values which we are predicting, whether the student will pass or whether they'll fail, or there would be regression, what will be the score of that particular student in the final exam. Yeah. So that continuous variable value will be determined by this regression, and classification is for um, labels, categorical variables. And this is for continuous values, continuous variable. So similarly, unsupervised is we don't have any historical data or any labels already available, any values for the for the feature which we want to predict. So what we can do is we can, based on whatever values or whatever features we have, based on that we try to uh, come up with our own grouping or our own this thing, our own inferences of about that feature. So that is clustering. So clustering, again, the clustering and competitive learning are two types of unsupervised learning. We are not going into competitive learning, but cluster or competitive learning is again for categorical variable, the hierarchical the division classification, how they do it, from top to bottom, from bottom to up, all that comes into competitive learning. And clustering is where we try to form different groups or different clusters based on these values of the features. So how do we determine students who have gotten first class? So we have some so there is a straightforward algorithm that students who are scoring greater than 60% marks in the final exam, they will be awarded first class. But now what happens when there is a relative grading? So there is a rule, so that will become a competitive learning, or hierarchical classification algorithm. But what happens when there is no such rule and there is relative grading, and then you have to decide what grading to how to group or how to cluster these students. So that time clustering, where there are nearest neighbors are considered to be part of one group. Okay. So that was clustering. So even now, if you're not understanding it fully, don't feel bad, because this itself, our machine learning itself, is a course which can go beyond 12 weeks. So this is something very gist or very high level, bird, not even bird's eye, even above that kind of overview. Okay, so I'm going to read from the chat box. What is association algorithm? Association algorithm. Have I used association algorithm? So yeah, association is how correlation or association algorithm. I'm not understanding from this tree. Is association missing? So what type of association Ria and Nilabja are talking about? Can you unmute and clarify? Association algorithm. From assignment question. This week's assignments, if it is this week assignment, then we are not discussing that, because we are not doing cheating. We will be solving
No, ma'am.
previous years.
Actually, it's there is a question on an option association algorithm which happen or not. So I don't understand the association algorithm. Can you please explain about it?
As far as I know, association is part of reinforced learning, so that we have not covered in this thing. so what happens in, so it is one of the deep learning algorithm as far as I remember. Okay, I may be wrong also, I'm not sure about it. So I'll go back, and maybe next week you can again remind me to speak more about association algorithm. Okay, so
Question
base,
there is mentioned that in
there
for
is a
which
lot of
algorithm.
background noise, Ria. Your voice, no, there is something going on in the background. So I'm able to hear that, but not hear you. So can you go to another room and then talk by keeping mobile close to you or the device close to you?
Hello.
Yeah, it is better now. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, in the question, they have asked that in which algorithm we use label data. There are option algorithm, association algorithm, unsupervised algorithm, this type of. So for this, we don't understand what is association algorithm.
Okay. So associate. Oh, okay. That way, na, it is not part. Okay. So association is one of the deep learning algorithms where they develop the weights by repetitively associating different features with each other. So that is something we are not covering in this. So what happens is when we have labeled data, that means we have categorical variable where the labels are already there. So for that, I have already given you the answer here, the classification wala or competitive learning wala. So any classification algorithm or any competitive learning algorithm will work for the data where there are already labels available. And difference between supervised and unsupervised is, for unsupervised, these labels are not there from the historical data. We come up with those labels. So if the labels are already provided with the historical data, then we have to follow the supervised learning algorithm. Okay, so I have given you plenty of hint to answer that question. Okay, so I will not be giving you direct answer that this particular option is the answer, but this diagram should be sufficient to help you. Like supervised, what happens in supervised is when there is a data available to us to train that algorithm, to supervise that algorithm. And unsupervised is when that data or the labels of the feature or the variable which we are predicting, that is not there, then it becomes a unsupervised algorithm. When the final label data is missing, then it becomes an unsupervised algorithm. Okay. Okay. So don't get confused. I am not going to next page. हाँ, ठीक है. So we are on to pipeline of machine learning. So we had seen pipeline for learning analytics studies last week. If you remember, there was taking approval of ethics committee, then informing your participants about the study, then data collection and conducting the study, then analysis of the data, and then report writing and interpreting the results. So similarly, we have to follow certain steps for machine learning also when we are implementing machine learning on our data. Then first thing is, obviously we have to collect the data and we have to pre-process. So this data collection and pre-processing is same as that of from the learning that LS study pipeline. Yeah, so we have to collect the data, why to collect the data, how to collect the data, we have to think about that, and then actually conduct the study and get the data. Once we have the data, then we have to handle the missing values, we have to flag the erroneous data, and we have to decide what to do with erroneous data, how to rectify the errors, or whether to let go of that erroneous data. So that decision based on our research questions we need to take. So this will come under data pre-processing and processing. So now we have the data, we have done some kind of feature engineering also, we have generated some n number of features on our data, and now we have decided what are the dependent features and what will be the independent features, and based on the data we will choose the machine learning algorithm or the model which we want to use. Now what happens is we have to divide the data which we have into training data set and testing data set, because we need to not just train that machine learning model, but also need to test that machine learning model whether that model is correct or not. So for that, what we will do is we will divide the data available into either 70/30 or 50/50 or 80/20, so on. So we'll divide that data and we'll give a larger portion, or the 50 portion, whatever the bigger portion, to our algorithm to train that algorithm, and then we will test whether that algorithm is working fine based on the data which we have not given to that algorithm yet. Yeah, so there are various ways of doing this training and testing. Popular ways are 70/30, 70% data, or 80-20. So in that case 70 or 80% data we will use as training data, and remaining 30% or 20% we will use as testing that algorithm, testing data. And there are other ways also to do this training and testing, such as n-fold algorithm. So in n-fold, what happens is, if we have the data, say 100 instances of data we have, so and we are doing some threefold thing. So what happens is, we will divide the data into three parts. We will use we'll keep one part reserved for testing. We will use the two parts to train our data set, and then we will use that one third of the part to test our algorithm. Yeah. And then we will out of the remaining two-third, we will again divide that into one-third, 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 and that one-third on round-robin basis, every one-third will be acting as a testing data set, and then we will average out the model, and then that will be the n-fold data set, or three-fold, five-fold, six-fold, ten-fold, whatever the n-fold training is that. Okay, so we need to understand all these words and the overview of these words. Okay, so even if we don't know how to do it, that doesn't matter. We just need to understand how to interpret the machine learning results or the algorithms, if we are using, or when we are reading some research papers. Okay, so let that be the goal. So even though you're not able to understand everything right now, I will suggest go back to the lectures, and then go listen to other lectures. If you are interested more into pursuing machine learning and how these algorithm works, then there are so many courses also available online. You can watch those videos as well. Okay, so let's come to the main point, which is the purpose of this week, is to understand how these performance matrix of machine learning algorithms, what do they mean and how to interpret them. Okay, so this is the table which we will be following for all the numericals. Okay, so the true values and the predicted values, or the rater 1 or rater 2. If true value is 1 and our machine learning algorithm is predicting that value as 1 also, so whatever the actual value and the predicted value are matching, or they are correct, accurate, then that number of such instances is mentioned here, that is true positive, when there are correct. And when there are labeled as incorrect, or the next label, then it becomes true negative. Okay, that is also matching. So matching instances by machine learning algorithm and actual data values are true positive and true negatives. But when there is a negative instance in true value, but it is reported as positive instance by our machine learning algorithm, it becomes false positive. And similarly, when it is actually true in our reported data set and reported as false in machine learning algorithm, then it becomes false negative. Okay, so this is a very intuitive table, and based on these values, there are some matrices which are defined, like accuracy, precision, and recall. So for all these are the formulas which I have mentioned here for every matrices. So what is accuracy is how many predictions of machine learning algorithms are correct. So that means true positives and true negatives. These two numbers are the correct predictions by machine learning algorithm out of all the sample size, whatever the data size was there. So that's accuracy of the algorithm, how many are predicted correctly, what proportion of the predictions are correct. Then precision, of all the instances predicted as positive, how many are actually positive, that is the precision. So here, how many instances reported as positive is this row, true positive plus false positive. Out of them, which were actually positive and were reported as positive, is true positive. So precision formula becomes true positive divided by true positive plus false positives. So that is precision. So how to remember this? Accuracy is pretty straightforward. What proportion is predicted correct out of the total sample size? So this formula is easy to remember. So now these tips I am giving you so that you don't have to mug up the formula. So precision is the associated with positive predictions. So you can remember precision is positive predictions. So positive prediction is this row, predicted value 1 is positive prediction. So true positives plus number of false positives are the total positive predictions of the algorithm. So out of them, how are actually correct predictions? Correct predictions are true positive. So it gives us the formula of true positives divided by number of true positives plus number of false positives. Can you repeat false positive and false negative? Okay. So another way to remember is this. Yeah, I'm just zooming in here on this. This could be positive and negative. There are two labels: how many students will pass, how many students will fail. So if our prediction is 1, that means the student will pass. If our prediction is 0, that means student will fail. So now we have this data available with us: how many students have passed and how many students have failed. So this is the true value, is the data values which have number of positive and number of negatives in the actual data set. And here we are remembering the predicted value by our algorithm: how many positives and how many negatives. Okay, so now how we will populate this table? So based on our data which we are using for training our algorithm, how many were actually positive, or how many students were actually reported to have passed, and how many students are actually predicted as passed on our data set. Yeah, so our data set's prediction may not match with the actual data. That not matching is captured in this table. So this true positive values are number of predictions which are reported positive by our machine learning algorithm, as well as actually positive. So this number is mentioned here, that count is true positive count mentioned here in this quadrant. Then how many students have actually failed, and our machine learning algorithm has also predicted them as failed. So that count is true negative. Yeah, so it is number of instances. Okay, so you understood true positive and true negative. Now let's come to what is false positive and false negative. So false positive is which is actually negative but predicted by our machine learning algorithm as positive. Number of students who have failed in reality in our data set, who have failed, but our machine learning algorithm predicted them to be passed. So it becomes falsely reported as positive, that is false positive. Falsely reported by whom? By our machine learning algorithm. As what? Positive, which is false positive. Now what is false negative? The students who have actually passed but reported as failed in our machine learning algorithm. So students who have so the instances in our data set which are actually positive but our machine learning algorithm has reported them to be negative, these are falsely reported as negative, is false negative. So in reality they are positive, but our machine learning algorithm is reporting them falsely as negative instances. This is how you remember this: false negative and false positive. I hope, Riya, now it is correct. If my predicted value row placed in actual value, then all will be misplaced. Predicted value, actual value. Okay, so true value is actual value. I didn't understand your question. I'll try to write it here so that I understand. Predicted value row is placed in actual value, then all. Okay, so you mean transposing this metric, yeah? Predicted value of algorithm as columns and actual value as row. Then also it is not very difficult to write, no? So what we will do is, we will do this, sorry. Yeah. So here is our prediction value, and here is our actual data set value. Actual value. Okay. Here is 1, 0 are actual values, and here prediction value 1, 0. So actual 1 and machine learning algorithm also predicts them to be 1. This is true positive, straightforward to remember. And actually also 0 and predicted also 0, which is also true negative. Okay, so 0 and 1, how to associate? 1 is number of students who have passed and 0 is number of students who have failed. So there are two classes of prediction and two classes in our actual data set. So now what is this is, actually student has passed, but it is predicted falsely as failed. That count will come here in this quadrant, right? So actually the student has passed, but it is falsely reported as failed. So that will be false negative. This is n, yeah, falsely reported as negative because this is prediction. So machine learning algorithm has reported values of 1 to be 0. So these are all false negative. Similarly, actually it is negative but reported as 1. So that means actually the students have failed but they are reported to be passed. So actually negative hai. The values are actually in reality negative, but they are reported to be positive. So that means they are falsely reported as positive. Oh, is it falsely prediction? Yeah, falsely positive. Yeah? So if we transpose this if we transport this metric, yeah, so if we transpose this above metric, like true values are actual values or predicted values become column, then this will be the what you can say, the values. So I cannot simplify this table further. I have tried to kind of come up with this table value of true positive and false negative again. Please go through the recordings again so that it will be clear, or go through the lecture videos again and try to understand how it is. But I have shared the very easy English wala trick here, that falsely reported as negative. So in reality they are positive but falsely predicted to be negative. In reality the value is 1, but our machine learning is predicting them as 0. So that means they are falsely reported as negative. So that will be false negative count. And falsely reported as positive matlab the in reality, in actual data set, actual values they are negative. The existing value is negative, but our machine learning algorithm is predicting them as positive values. So that is falsely reported as positive. So that's false positive. So I had done accuracy and precision definitions and formulae. Now understand recall. So for these, if you remember the text in bold, then you can come up with the formula on your own. Yeah, so that's why I have actually highlighted the definition wala text in bold. So if you read this, then you can there is no need to remember the formula, but you can deduce the formula on your own. Okay, so let's try doing that for recall. Of all the actual positive instances, so what are actual positive instances? Actual value positive 1. So true positive plus false negative. So this addition will be denominator, because what they are saying, of all the positive instances which are actually positive, how many are correctly reported as positive? So how many correctly reported positive value is this? True positive. So this will be our numerator, number of true positives divided by how many actual positive instances. That's the recall. So simple way of recall is to recall, to remember correct answers. So correct answers for positives. So number of positives which are actually correctly predicted as positives by machine learning algorithms also. That is number of true positives divided by total number of actual positive, which are true positive also plus true negative also. Yeah. So this row, actual positive, is this row. Number of true positives plus number of false negatives. So true positives plus false negative is the denominator, and number of numerator is how many out of them are classified correctly as positive. So recall formula, if you remember, if you try to read this line correctly, it will be very easy. So we have, so if you, out of all actually positive instances, which is this row, true positive plus false negative, if you come here onto this the table which is given here in the first, true positive is this column, number of true positives plus number of false negative is total number of positives in our actual data set, and out of those values how many are predicted correctly, which is number of true positives. So that is the recall formula. ठीक है. So this is the list of the formula. If you go through the lectures, you will gain more formulas, and sir has also explained how to solve the numericals using those formulas. Okay, so if you want to understand, if you find it difficult, it is very difficult to cover all the concepts in this 2 hours or 1.5 hours of session. And since we are just giving overview here, I will again advise, please try to watch the videos are not very long, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes each video, some 4-5 videos are there. So please spare 1 more hour to watch the videos. If you watch the videos and if you attend these sessions, then I'm sure you will be score very good marks in the final exams. Okay, so please, it is not just one thing, just watching videos or just coming and attending this session won't help. You have to understand that combination of these both will work in your favor in your final exam. Okay, so this is the kappa score value when there is actual observed data and the predicted or expected data. So PO is probability of actual data or observed data, what is the actual number of positives and negatives. So we'll add that and then come up with this probability of observed, and then probability of probability of observed in correct predictions, and then probability of expected, what is the expectations out of the machine learning algorithms. Or sir has explained very nice, very beautifully how inter-rater this thing. Yes, P0 is accuracy, Ria, you are right, P0 is accuracy. So if you remember accuracy wala formula, so accuracy is how many are actually correctly predicted. So that is the observed values, how many values are correctly predicted. So this is accuracy, P0 is accuracy. So when you are given this matrix, or we can also come up with this matrix based on the data which we have, based on that we can come up with this accuracy or P0, and PE is expected. So expected probability we have to calculate, what is the probability of yes, what is the probability of no, and then we'll have to add them to get the expected probability. So if you're not understanding how to do this, we will solve one example. There is an example listed in this thing. So we will solve this example. For now, remember the formula. Probability of observed minus probability of expected divided by 1 minus probability of expected. Similarly, for F score, if you're not understanding this, then please watch lecture, I think matrices 1 or matrices 2 lecture will have this F score covered. Matrix 1 and matrix 2, so there are 3 lecture for matrix, I think 3 or 4 lectures. One of them will cover this F score. So yeah, yes, Ria.
Ma'am, actually in the lecture, sir has provided confusion matrix named rater 1 frustrated, rater 2 frustrated, this type of confusion matrix.
Yeah.
So for this type of confusion matrix, how can I recognize that what will predicted or what will actual value?
Okay. So this is R1 also says frustrated, and R1 says not frustrated. Okay, so we can say this as 1, and we can say this is frustrated is 1 and not frustrated is 0. Yeah, so similarly R2 says frustrated and R2 says not frustrated. So not frustrated is 0 and frustrated is 1, because we have 2 classes, one class is 0 and one class is 1. So if we have number of instances where they are agreeing, that both of them observed that a particular learner at that particular instance was frustrated. So such say 10 instances were observed, so that we will note here the count of both of them agreeing that those instances were of frustration, and both R1 and R2 agreeing that those particular instances were of not frustrated. So that we will write here. So randomly I'm writing some numbers, okay, here. So this is how we will prepare this particular matrix, the true positive wala matrix, for this thing. So now
How can we recognize what is true positive or false negative?
coming to that, you only will answer, Ria. Don't mute yourself, keep yourself unmute. You only now tell me that R1 says 1 and R2 also says 1. So both of them are agreeing that this particular instance is positive. So that means what will this value be called?
True positive.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is saying not frustrated and R2 is saying not frustrated. Both of them are agreeing that this is not frustration instance. So then what will be this value be calling?
True negative.
Very nice, thank you. True negative. Okay. So R1 is saying it is frustrated, but R2 is saying it is not frustrated. So what will be not frustrated? It has reported where it was actually it was frustrated. So what this value will be calling? Which
False
is
negative.
falsely reported as negative. You're right. Say it loud.
False negative.
False negative. Understood?
Yes.
So now it was R1 observed it is not frustrated, but R2 says no, it is frustrated. So what R2 is doing here?
False positive.
Yes. So now you got it?
Yes, ma'am. But which one will mainly focus, R1 or R2?
You can choose anyone, R1 or R2.
Okay.
But mostly it is said that R1 you can focus and R2 you can keep. So the values will not be changing much, because it is agreement and disagreement counts. So this is disagreement count, this is disagreement count, and these two are agreement counts. Yeah. So in a sense, even if these values will always remain here, agreement and disagreement value, even if R2 comes here and R1 comes here, these values will not change. Say for example, in the from the previous page, see we had changed rows and columns here, no? So these values are in the same position. True negative, oh god, okay, I need to undo, I don't know how to undo. Okay. Yeah. So this true negative and true positive values are same, are changed. Only the false positive and false negative values are interchanged. So you're getting my point. Those values are interchanging, and that will not make much difference in the formulas also, because in the formulas true positive and false positives are coming together, or true positives and false negatives are coming together. So that you have to interpret from these words, what is true positive and what is false negative. Yeah? So falsely reported as negative, so recall for R1, recall for R2, something like that. Okay. Now we will go to another matrix, which is ROC, which is receiver operating characteristic function. So ROC is dependent on these two values, which are true positive rate and false positive rate. Yeah? So here same true positive.
Please show the kappa matrix.
It is same as that of this ray. This we have done like thrice, 1, 2 and 3 times we have done this. It is similar to that kappa matrix.
Please
Nothing new.
slide.
Sorry?
Yes, ma'am.
You're copying down something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll wait for you. And whatever confusion remains in your mind, we are yet to solve the numericals. So once we solve the numericals, when we have some numbers in front of us, these doubts will be clear, Ria. Don't worry.
Okay.
And this is just formula. Just remember the formula, solve the numerical and get the score. That's it.
Okay, ma'am.
So similarly here also for ROC curve, So how ROC curve is plotted is here. Sensitivity is directly related to true positive, TPR here. TPR, true positive rate, is sensitivity, and specificity is 1 minus false positive rate. So this false positive rate and true negative rate, that definitions, their name is only key to remembering their formulae. True positive rate, number of true positives divided by actually number of positives, actual number of positives from the data set, is true positive rates, right? So actual number of positives कहाँ से कैसे मिलेगा? So number of true positives plus the data sets which are or the instances which are falsely reported as negative but which are actually positive. So this is number of positive instances from data set, from sample. You had to say something, Riya?
Is it recall similar type of?
Similar to recall, yes, yes. Name is different. Yeah? So now false positive rate is false positive. So number of false positive becomes the numerator, and what denominator is? True negatives and falsely reported positives. So number of negative instances. Number of negative instances from sample. So the name itself, their name itself will lead you to the formula. If you have like, I can't remember the formula, okay, I'm very bad at remembering formulae. So this is something how I remember the formula, like false positive. So number of false positive, it is rate. So that means the actual negative number of instances, the instances which are negative in actual data set. So I'm kind of telling you how I end up remembering all formulae. So now ROC is how we determine whether the algorithm, our algorithm, is good or bad. So how we will determine that? If we pick up a value for prediction, then what is the probability that the algorithm is not randomly guessing but actually predicting based on some some features which we are giving, some weights associated with those features. So how do we determine that? So to have that area under curve from this ROC graph, so how we are plotting this area under curve is, there will be sensitivity, which is true positive rate, and 1 minus specificity is this false positive rate. So here it is TPR and here it is FPR, and we are plotting this graph from the based on that for that particular ML algorithm. So this is the random guess line, and anything below that line, if our algorithm, our matrices are falling in this particular region, then the algorithm is not good. It is not doing the prediction correctly. But if algorithm is falling above this line, the random guessing line, that means our algorithm is doing a good job and it is acceptable. So this is how we interpret based on the ROC curve. So now high sensitivity and high specificity. So high specificity will give 1 minus specificity value will be low when we have high specificity. So that means we will be falling here in this particular region on x-axis, and high sensitivity, which is on the top. So that means somewhere here. So which is good or desirable condition. Higher sensitivity and higher specificity. So remember, it is sensitivity on y-axis, and on x-axis it is 1 minus specificity. So 1 minus, okay? So 1 minus specificity. So now this was the case 1, which is desirable. So now you tell me what happens when sensitivity is close to 0 and specificity is also close to 0. So specificity is close to 0. That means 1 minus specificity is 1, close to 1. So in this particular region we are on x-axis. And now sensitivity is also close to 1. So that means we are somewhere here. So that is also not good. So higher sensitivity and higher specificity together is not desirable. We have to come up with their combination such that we are falling above this line. So that means lower value of 1 minus specificity and moderate value of sensitivity. So sensitivity is true positive rate. So somebody wants true positive rate formula again. So TPR is true positive rate. Out of all the positive instances, how many instances are predicted correctly as positive, truly positive? So that means in numerator it will be true positive instances, number of true positive instances, and in the denominator it will be number of true positives plus number of false negative, actual positive instances reported falsely as negative, false negative. So this is the TPR formula. Okay, so now I will again go back and check whether it is matching with the formula above, because as I told you before, I am very bad at remembering the formula. So now what I did was I iterated what is true positive rate, and based on that I deduced the formula myself, and this is matching with the formula which sir has used in his slides, right? True positives divided by true positives plus false negatives. Yeah, so this is how even you can remember all the formulae. No need to mug up or remember all the formulae and then do some goof up. Yeah, so this was, I spoke about false n-fold cross validation. Yeah, so we have talked about. So now I will take a break of 1 minute. I will stop talking and you guys can read the options and tell me in the chat box that what is the correct option for this, like 5 cross validation. We have discussed n cross validation in the beginning when I spoke about the pipeline of ML algorithms. Yeah, so Nilabja, there is no one metric which gives us complete picture about how our ML algorithm is performing. So we have to kind of use combination of all the matrices based on our RQ, what we are expecting out of our machine learning algorithm, what is our expectations, what we are trying to predict. Based on that, and our training data set, how it is, whether it is biased, whether it is balanced, whether it is unbalanced. So what is balanced and unbalanced data set? So balanced data set is if there are two classes of two classes which we are predicting, like 0 and 1. So if our data has all the instances or majority of the instances reported as in the class 1 and very few instances reported in the class 0, so that means that particular data set will be unbalanced and it will not help our algorithm to predict the values correctly. So in such case, our training data set was biased, so our algorithm will also be biased. So in that case, this recall value, accuracy, precision, this will not help. That will end up giving our that ROC also, because ROC, if you remember, there was specificity and sensitivity. So sensitivity was on y-axis, so sensitivity is closely related to recall and accuracy. So in that case, the ROC curve will also not give us the correct value. But what happens is there is F1 score, which is like harmonic mean of recall and accuracy, recall and precision. So in that case, F1 score will give us the better value about, or the better idea about the performance of our ML algorithms. So there is no finite or there is no fixed answer that which matrix gives us the complete picture about performance of our ML algorithm. So I'm getting option 3 in the chat box, which is the correct answer. As I had explained then also, that if there are n-fold cross validation, so what happens is we divide our data set into n parts. One part we reserved for testing, rest of the parts we will use for training our module. And that testing part we will keep on rotating, one part, and then that data we will not consider for testing. We'll move on to next nth portion or nth part of our data. We will do testing with that data and we'll move on to next nth part, and then we will average out the end result for our algorithm. So that is n cross validation. For 5 cross, that will happen 5 times. We will divide our data set into 5 equal parts. We'll reserve 1 part for testing and 4 part for training, and we will move that 1 part and cover all the data for testing, and all the remaining 4 part we will use for training. So that becomes 5-fold cross validation. So correct answer is option 3. Yeah. So now this is the nice question. We will be calculating recall accuracy and precision value for this data set. So now what I would request you all is sit with pen and paper, and we will come up with that matrix, yeah, that predicted and actual value. So YA is actual value and YP is predicted value. Okay, so we will here there is place. So what we will do is I will just make it smaller. Not able to do that. Okay. And we will come up with that actual, predicted, 1 0 1 0. So now what we will do is actual value also 1 and predicted also 1. Now we will count number of actual values 1 and predicted values 1. Actual 1, predicted 1. So this becomes 1. Actual 1 and predicted 1, 2. Actual 1 and predicted 1, 3. Actual 1 and predicted 1, 4. 4. So this becomes 4. So now actual 0 and so now 0 0. Okay, actual also 0 and predicted also 0. Let's count actual 0 and predicted 0. 1 1 2, then this is 3, third instance, so 3. So 3. Yeah. Now actual 0 but predicted as 1. So this is false false negative, false positive, falsely reported as positive by our falsely predicted as positive. So this will be false positive, this will be true positive, this will be true negative, this will be falsely reported as positive, false positive, and this will be falsely reported as negative, which is false negative. So now 0 and 1, actual 0 and reported as predicted as 1. So 0 1 combination, 0 1 0 1 0 1 1, then 0 1 0 1 2, 0 1 0 1 3. So this is 0 and 1, 3 instances. Now actual 1 and predicted as 0, falsely reported as negative. So 1 0 1 2 3 4 and 5. So this count will be 5. Yeah? So now we all know the formula. What is asked is precision value. So what is the precision wala formula? So precision formula says precision positive, number of positive number of correct positive predictions out of all the actual positive value is precision. That is how we are remembering. So precision formula is similar to that false positive rate. True positive, which are actual positives, and predicted also as positive, divided by actually positive, which is this. True positive plus false negative. So correct me if I'm making any mistakes, okay? So that means these are what is true positive is 4 divided by 9, which is, what is the answer? 9 or 4 divided by 9. Let me take out. Now in the era of calculators, we have forgotten how to do the simple divisions. There's something wrong in the formula. Nobody noticed. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Ma'am, it's
Yes,
true
ma'am.
positive
It
plus
is
false
in the
positive.
denominator. It is
Now it is correct?
true positive plus false positive.
Huh.
Yes, ma'am. 4 by 4 plus 3. I mean, 0
4 by
by
seven is
Yes.
the
7.
4
answer.
by 7. Yeah. 4 by 7. Yeah. Which is 4 by 7, which is, again, I have to take out calculator. 4 divided by
0.57,
7.
ma'am.
Yeah, 0.57. 0.57 is option 3. Yeah. Now, let's go to recall. Okay. Here I had, I think, written down recall formula. Positive recalling out of positive, that recalling correctly. Okay. So recall formula is number of true positives divided by number of true positives plus positives falsely reported as negatives. So total number of positives. So this will be true positives are 4 and true positives plus false negatives. True positives plus false negatives is 5 plus 4. 4 by 9, which is 4 by 9, which is like 0.4 something something. 4 divided by 9, yes,
0.44.
0.44, which is option number 3. Yeah. Now accuracy. Accuracy is correct prediction accuracy of algorithm. Correct prediction divided by sample size. Correct predictions are true positive, true negative together. So going back to our this matrix, true positives plus true negatives together, which is 4 plus 3 divided by sample size. Sample size is addition of all 4 quadrants, the count of all 4 quadrants, how many data instances were there. So data instances were 15. Another shortcut. And how to verify whether your this matrix is correct is we'll add everything, 9 plus 6 15, and the total data count was also 15 from this slide here. So that means our this classification is correct. So total sample size was 15, so which is 15. I think here 4 plus 3 was there, no, 7, which is again 0.46 closest. Yeah, I don't need to calculate, because in the options it is closer to 0.4 is 0.46, because 7 by 15 is, yeah, less than half, so 0.46. Yeah. So if you know the formula, these calculations will be easier. Don't goof up the formula like I did there. Thank God I realized, because my answer was not in the option, whatever I was getting. How I understood that my formula was wrong, but here the calculations, whatever I was getting was not part of the options only. Yeah. So if you goof up that, then again you have to sit and recall, okay? Okay. So now here, this is a tricky question. Tricky question as in we have to, there is TPR given, there is a true positive rate and true negative rate. Yeah. So here the trick is true negative rate is actually specificity. Yeah. Is the another word for specificity. So you remember which were the matrix which we used for ROC curve, y-axis, what y-axis had? Y-axis had sensitivity. Sensitivity is true positive rate. And y-axis was 1 minus specificity. So we'll add another column where we will do 1 minus this value. 1 minus this TNR. So here is 0.4. So 1 minus 0.9 is 0.1. And 1 minus 0.2 is 0.8. Yeah. So this is x-axis value. And this is y-axis value for ROC curve. And this will be x-axis. So now you tell me which will be above that 1 1 line. So that random line in the ROC curve was that 1 comma 1 wala line, x is equal to y line. So which of these matrix will give us the values which will be falling above that random value prediction line, 1 1 line? So if you remember, high y-axis value will be closer to that. And now if we plot this with this value 0.7, so here is 1 and here is 1, so 0.8 would be somewhere here and here 0.7, yeah, 0.8 comma 0.7, and this will be this 1 1 line. Now at another this thing will be, another instance will be 0.1, which will be here, and 0.6, 0.5 will be here, 0.6 will be here, somewhere here. So this will be LR. So which will be better? Confusing. Okay. So the question what they have asked is, let me explain the question itself correctly. So there are two algorithms, okay? While conducting studies, researcher wants to classify engaged and unengaged behavior from corrected data. Now he uses two classification techniques, namely logistic regression and decision tree classifier or DT classifier. Now value of these parameters are given below as follows. Now from this data, what can we conclude? Which algorithm is better? LR1, logistic regression one, or decision tree, which is the better algorithm? Yeah. So we have the accuracy value which is close by 0.6 and 0.68 and 0.69. So difference between 0.68 and 69 is not much. Okay, so accuracy of both the algorithm is very close. So that means we have to go to the next metric to determine which of the algorithm is better. So what next matrix is? ROC curve. So I am scrolling up so that we are here. So remember, this is the 1 comma 1 line. Okay, here is 1 and here is 1. So random guess for ROC curve is this 1 comma 1, x is equal to y line. So what this algorithm says, that 1 minus specificity is false positive rate, and false positive rate is 1 minus true negative rate. So this is like, if you closely observe their formula also, you can deduce this, that 1 minus true negative rate is actually FPR, which is 1 minus specificity. So higher specificity value, so that means TNR is specificity, right? 1 minus specificity is FPR, but FPR is also 1 minus true negative rate. So true negative rate, we can say specificity. So when we have higher sensitivity and higher specificity, that value will fall here, somewhere here, no? 0.7 and here 0.8. So which is actually falling here, which is below that 1 1 line and not above. Are you understanding now? We will go to recall wala question, and then we will do that recall formula how to solve. Okay. So now when we have lower 1 minus specificity or lower value of TNR and higher value of sensitivity, which was for our example 0.6 and 0.1. So this is 0.1 and this is 0.6. So second algorithm was somewhere here, and first algorithm was in bad region and second algorithm was in good region. Riya, I will suggest that you can watch the ROC video again, because it is like, this is the thumb rule. Okay, we have to, like, x is equal to y line. If the matrix are falling,
also I have got confusion.
where? Sorry.
In lectures video also I have got confusion.
Okay, so one thing to which is like easy to understand is you remember that you have to come up with this 1 comma 1 line. Yeah, so anything below this line, if your sensitivity and 1 minus specificity combo is occurring below this line, it is the bad region. This algorithm is not doing a good job in predicting. It is just randomly giving out value. Yeah, so that is the meaning of this ROC graph. So this is determined by area under curve. So don't go in area under curve, but just remember that if sensitivity and 1 minus specificity combination is falling below this line, then this is the bad region, unacceptable performance by machine learning algorithm. And if the combination of sensitivity and 1 minus specificity is falling here, then it is good region or acceptable performance by machine learning algorithm. Okay, for now remember this. And now we will solve for the combination of sensitivity and specificity. So this is the specificity value. True negative rate is nothing but specificity, and true positive rate is nothing but sensitivity, which is y-axis of that ROC graph, and this is x-axis. So for x-axis we need to do 1 minus specificity. So here we have done that. 1 minus 0.9 is 0.1. 1 minus 0.2 is 0.8. So this will be the value on x-axis. So now for LR, what is the x comma y combination? 0.1 comma 0.6. Correct? No confusion here. And for decision tree DT, what is the combination? 0.8 comma 0.7. So now in this graph 1 1, 0.8 comma 0.7, when where it will fall? Somewhere in this region, maybe above, maybe below, let's not go there. Somewhere in this region. Now 0.1 and 0.6. So 0.1, and if this is 1, then 0.6 will be, this will be 0.5, 0.6 will be here, and this is 0.1. So this is certainly like LR. This combination is certainly appearing above this 1 1 line. Everybody agrees with me that LR matrices on ROC graph are in good region for sure. So now let's come to this value. 0.8 and 0.7 ka combination. So this line is x is equal to y. So now x value is 0.7 and y value is greater than that. So what happens is, greater than y value greater and x value lower, which is it will fall here below that line. That's why this comes under, DT comes under bad region. Yeah?
TNR equals to 1 minus FPR.
1 minus FPR.
So what do you have written 1 minus TNR?
Because our ROC graph says x-axis value is 1 minus specificity. So FPR is 1 minus specificity. Yeah? But what we have is, given value is TPR, given value is, what value they had given? False negative rate. Right? What value they have given? Yeah. True negative rate, sorry, not false negative, true negative rate, TNR. So true negative rate Okay, there is short of space here. I will use this space. Okay, so true negative rate. What is the formula for true negative rate? What is saying true negative, number of true negatives and true negative rates out of all the negative instances, right? So all the negative instances will be number of true negative and number of instances which are negative but falsely reported as positive. So FP. And what is FPR? False positive rate, right? False positive rate. So false positive rate, that means the denominator will be number of false positive for sure, and denominator will be number of false positive plus number of true negatives, which are predicted as negative. So true negative. So let's do here, yeah, let's do 1 minus TNR. 1 minus Tn divided by total number of negative plus FP. So this will go into denominator, Tn will cancel, FP will be in the numerator, and denominator will be Tn plus FP, right? If we do 1 minus from TNR, okay, this is the TNR formula. Now what happens when we do 1 minus TNR? This happens. Isn't this false positive rate?
Yes.
So here the trick was interpreting TNR value. So true negative is 1 minus true negative will be giving us false positive rate, and false positive rate is the value on x-axis. Yeah, so this dt matrix, no, dt के लिए x y when we are comparing. Yeah, so LR we saw that LR x is equal to y axis में it is obviously falling onto good region. Why? Because y variable is higher than x, so it is above that x is equal to y line. This x is equal to y line, it is appearing above on the graph. Okay, so this is definitely good. So this is definitely a going into good region or acceptable performance of that algorithm, logistic regression. So now let us check for dt. Now x-axis value is 0.8 and y-axis value is 0.7. Yeah, so 0.7 and y value is more and x value is less. So this will certainly be appearing below this line. This will be appearing below this x is equal to y line somewhere here, because y value is more but x value is less. So it will be below this x is equal to y line, and this region is bad or unacceptable performance, and above region is good. So now you tell me which will be what is the correct answer? Classifier 1, that is logistic regression, better, or classifier 2? Yeah. So now is it clear? This cannot be twisted any further. It will be like this only. Either they will give TNR or they will give FPR. So if FPR value is given, no need to do 1 minus. Or they will use words like sensitivity, specificity. So sensitivity is y-axis value and 1 minus specificity is x-axis value. Okay? So you have to come up with x and y coordinates and then determine whether it will be falling above x is equal to y line. If it is above, then it is good. If it is below, then it is bad. That's the logic you have to remember. So now the kappa score question. Okay? So kappa score is, there are two raters. They rate the students' engagement while they are working on TELE's, Technology Enhanced Learning Environment. The following tables depict the observation made by them. So this is the number of instances where both of them are agreeing. So this will be true positive because both of them are reporting it to be engaged and engaged, and both of them reporting as not engaged and not engaged is true negative. So for this is not engaged, that means it is actually negative but reported as positive, reported as 1, so which is false positive. This is actually positive but falsely reported as 0 or negative, which is false negative. So now what happens is we need to calculate the formula for kappa is PO minus PE divided by 1 minus PE. So now what we will do is, PO is, Ria had already said that PO is accuracy. Accuracy is true positive plus true negative divided by sample, right? So we will add this true positive true negative, which is 45, and what is the sample size? 45 plus 25, 70, which is 45 divided by 70, 45 divided by 70, which is roughly 0.64. So we have gotten PO value. Now PE, how to do PE? PE is expected prediction का probability of yes and no. ठीक है? So what we will do is this is the agreement wala observed wala agreement ka probability, and now we need to do probability of yes and probability of no for R1 and R2 both, है ना? So R1 का probability of engaged is what? R1 engaged is this 25 plus 15. What is 25 plus 15? R1 engaged 40, which is 40. This is out of 70, right? So this is 40 divided by 70, which is 40 divided by 70, 0.57. Now what is R2 का engagement? Probability में we are dividing by total population or total sample size. That's why it is 70. Observed divided by total is what we are observing. Now what R2 का what is the R2 total number of students which R2 has find engaged is this, yeah, which is 15 plus 10, 35 out of sample size 70, which is 35 divided by 70, oh god, 0.5. Okay, now R1 not engaged and R2 not engaged. So R1 not engaged and R2 not engaged. So now tell me, R1 not engaged is R1 not engaged 30, 10 plus 20, 30 divided by 70, which is 30 divided by 70, roughly 0.43 or 428, which let's write as 43. And now R2 saying not engaged, R2 not engaged 15 plus 20, 35 divided by 70, which is 0.5. So now we have found out this probability of for R1 that it will predict some student as engaged is 0.57, and R2's prediction of engaged is 0.5. Now here R1 predicting somebody as not engaged is 0.43 and R2 predicting somebody as not engaged is 0.5. So now what we will do is probability of engaged, which is we have to multiply R1 का engagement probability with R2 का engagement probability. We'll get both after multiplication we'll get the total expected engagement probability. Okay, so let's multiply 0.57 with 0.57 multiplied by 0.5, which is 0.285. And probability of not engaged is multiplication of this and this, 0.43 multiplied by 0.5, which is 0.43 multiplied by 0.5. So this is just how we calculate the combined probability of both the raters. R1 ka engagement probability we found out first, then we found out R2 engagement probability. When we multiply them, we will get that both of what is the probability that student will be reported engaged by both of them, is how we multiply that expected. So this was the expected for engaged and for not engaged. 215 हो गया, ये हो गया, ठीक है. So now 0.215 plus 0.285. So now how to do this combined engaged and not engaged? It will either be engaged or not be engaged. So we need to add them together to get final PE. So in दोनों का addition I just did, it is 0.5. So this value we have gotten for PE and this value we have gotten for PO. So now you put it in the formula and tell me what is the final answer. I will not be putting it in the formula. I have mentioned the formula here for kappa score. I did the probability calculations and you can do it in similar way. Find out what is the probability that R1 has predicted engaged and R2 has predicted engaged independently. What happens when they both do it together? We need to multiply their individual probability. So we did that, engagement wala probability, similarly not engagement wala probability, and then what we will do is we will add it to get the final probability. This P, not PE, P small e. Yeah, this here we'll get the PE. So now you do this calculations, PO minus PE divided by 1 minus P. Let me also do it in my calculator. 0.64 divided by 1 minus P, 0.5. Yeah, I have found the answer. Yeah, that's correct. The answer mentioned in the chat box is correct. So everybody has gotten the correct answer, which is this 0.2. Just substitute these values, PE and PO, in the formula and you will get the kappa score value.
And in the lecture speaker, Sir has only told that for rated 1 engagement, only add the 20 plus 15.
No, your voice is breaking. Only add what? Sorry to interrupt, but only add what?
Only add the 25 plus 15, not divided by 70.
Okay, since we are doing the probability, that cannot be the case now. Only adding that will not give us the fraction value. Probability maximum value can be 1. If we only add 25 and 15, we will get 40. That will get us nowhere. We'll have to divide that by 7 somewhere. So this is the standard probability definition.
So also answer is 0.28.
That way also you got 0.28.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then you share that shortcut method with all of us. Okay, now you tell us how you did it. Then we'll probably save our time in calculations. Yeah, now I'll hand it over to Ria.
Okay, ma'am. At the very first, for data 1 frustration, we have calculated 25 plus 15. Sorry, if frustration, not engagement.
Engagement, yeah.
For data 2 engagement, we have calculated 25 plus 10.
10, right.
For data 1 not engagement, we have calculated 10 plus 20. And for data 2 not engagement, we have calculated 15 plus 20.
Yeah, so
And
these are these numbers. What
yes,
you are
ma'am.
saying here, these
And
are these numbers. Yeah.
and calculated, but we have take it 0.35, 0.40, 0.30 and 0.35. As 30 is our answer, so we have taken 0.3.
Okay, okay, I see why you got confused. Okay, so what happened is in the lecture, the sample size was 100. The addition of all these numbers were 100. So that's why 30 could be 0.3.
Okay.
But here that is not the case. Here the total sample size, if you add 25 plus 10, 35, and 15 plus 20 is 35. So total sample size is 70 and not 100. And I think the
But
example,
is same how.
that's something to look into. But be careful while doing this, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Because we are doing addition, and then we are doing multiplication, so that's why I did not want to take risk, and I took denominator. Lengthy problem could come in the exam, kappa score, yes, but if you know how to calculate the probabilities, then it's not that lengthy, we just have to do this row and column probability, and then multiply R1 probability with R2 probability separately for engaged and for not engaged, and then add it together. So right now it seems very lengthy, but once you start solving, it is not that lengthy. Just remember how to calculate PE. Yeah. So harmonic mean of precision and recall is another performance matrix known as F1 score. Correct answer in the chat box. Yeah. So F1 score formula, if we go back and look, so here I have deliberately noted down all the formulas so that you can use this as the sheet where you find all the formulas together. I think sir also would be mentioning this in the lecture, because he always mentions that precision and recall's harmonic mean is F score or F1 score. It is also referred to as F score or F1 score. So that's the formula here I have mentioned, and this is something you have to remember, that F1 score is it considers both recall and precision both. So precision and recall both work well for balanced data and unbalanced data set. So when we have unbalanced data set, we have to consider precision and recall both into account, and F1 score is one metric which in the formula we are using precision as well as recall. So that's why you have to remember that for unbalanced data set, F1 score gives us good idea about how our ML algorithm is performing. Yeah. Cohen's kappa is for inter-rater agreement calculation, or when you're using two algorithms together, then one rater would be one algorithm, another rater would be another algorithm. Then if you want to test their combined performance, then you can use Cohen's kappa. F1 score, again a good matrix which gives us some idea about how our ML algorithm is performing. Then sensitivity and specificity together give us idea about ROC factor, area under curve. So for this, the correct answer is F1 score. Now ML is machine learning, is not required to be implemented. So this I am going to leave on in the chat box, that in what situation you think ML algorithms are not required. Are not required, okay? Not is important. Okay, we have one question in chat box. It is 4. Is it option number 4? So option number 4 says learners' emotions need to be predicted. So to predict something, we need ML algorithm, no? Recall our discussion on I think week 1 or week 2, where predictive analytics was discussed. So you remember that diagram of circle and then going out. Inner was descriptive analytics, then it was diagnostic analytics, then it was predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics. Yeah. So in that case, when we want to predict something, so machine learning is part of predictive analytics. So when we want to predict something, we have to use machine learning algorithms, right? So not required is not true for option 4. Now rules are difficult to extract. So what machine learning algorithm does is it when we feed our data in the form of features, generated features, it will assign some weight to features. So features can be extracted based on different rules or our intuition, our knowledge about the subject matter, and so on. So once we have all these features in place, then we will do this, assign the weight to different features, different weightage is given to different features, and then the relationship between the dependent variable and independent variable is determined. And then so in such case, rules are very difficult to write down in English or in layman language. Those rules are mathematical in nature, which are very difficult to implement or which are very difficult to calculate. How we are predicting the dependent variable based on the values of independent variable. So rules are difficult to extract is the ideal scenario to use machine learning algorithms. Now we'll go to option 1. A personalized learning solution is required. So when we will personalize any learning environment, we are trying to optimize the learning experience. We are trying to optimize the learning environment. At that time, the personalization is required. So how can we personalize any learning environment for learner, predicting their requirement beforehand, so that we can push the content or we can give them nudges or messages accordingly. So that's why personalizing anything requires active role of machine learning. So ML is not required is not true for option 1. So now option 2, human expertise exists and automation is not required. When we don't want to automate anything and there is a human expert actively part of this scenario, then in such cases we don't need ML algorithm. Now what will be the example of second scenario? Our interaction, where I will not say I'm an expert, but I'm expert in understanding that somebody has doubt, because it doesn't require rocket science. Either you put that doubt in chat box or you raise your hand. So that way I'm deducing that okay, this particular topic is difficult and I need to repeat it. So there is no automation in picture, and there is a some sort of expertise or some sort of inference which is easy to make in the picture. So human expertise exists and automation is not required. Or other more convincing example is classroom teaching, where students are not saying anything, but human teacher is inferring whether they have learned or not based on their facial expressions, what their faces are saying, or what their body language is saying, whether they have understood the topic or whether they have not understood the topic. So the decision is made whether to repeat the topic or change the way topic is taught is based on the feedback which our expert human teacher is taking in from the classroom. So that's the ideal scenario where there is no automation involved and the decision is taken by our human expert based on their inference of the situation. So this makes for the no need to use ML algorithm very straightforward. Okay, so correct option is option 2. So for the following confusion matrix, accuracy value is, yeah. So let us write down, let us recall the accuracy value wala formula. Yeah. So accuracy is number of correct prediction divided by sample size. So correct prediction is, I'll write the accuracy. correct prediction is true positive plus true negative divided by sample. Now actual positive, predicted positive, this is true positive. Actual not A is negative, predicted not A is negative, so this is true negative, which is 15 plus 10 divided by sample. Let's calculate sample size. 75, which is 25 divided by 75, roughly 1/3. Yeah, easy. So right now accuracy, recall and precision are easy to calculate. Straight, just put the numbers in the formula and get it done. Yeah. So Ria, to answer your question, what happens when prediction or transpose of this matrix happen? So now this will remain same, no, true positive, true negative. So it doesn't matter if it is in columns or if it is in rows or if we interchange rows and columns. So these values are going to remain same, 15 and 10. These values are not going to change. So accuracy will not be changing. The formula will not, the values which we are putting in formula will always be 15 plus 10. And the sample size, which is constant, however way we want to write our confusion matrix. Yeah, so now you understood that it doesn't make any difference what goes into columns and what comes into rows while we are calculating accuracy. Yeah? So this was the thing which I was trying to tell you there, but we didn't have any numbers or at that time we had not calculated anything, so it was difficult for me to tell you or convince you that it will not matter. So now you understood how it won't matter, right? So going to last question. For imbalanced data set, which of the following performance matrix is generally used? Oh my god, I spoke about this 2-3 times, so I'm expecting answer from the chat box. What is imbalanced data set we have discussed, and which performance matrix will give us good idea about our ML algorithm? Yes, absolutely correct, F1 or F score. Yeah? Because it considers recall and precision both. Yeah. ठीक है. So we are at the end of today's session. Today we spent solid time onto numericals. Only thing is that study the formulas correctly. These formulas, because names are changing. Sometimes it becomes true positive rate, it becomes sensitivity, it becomes accuracy, है ना? So remember what is what. So sometimes you will be given precision and will be asked about ROC variables. No? Yes, I will be sharing this PPT, so that's why we are waiting for NPTEL folks. If they don't give me the link to share the PDFs by next week, what I will be doing is at every session I will be giving you a link to the folder where from every week I'm storing these marked PPTs or marked PDF. I'm converting into PDF and I'm storing it on Google Drive. So NPTEL is supposed to give you link to that Google Drive, which they have not done till now. So I'm waiting for them to do so. Otherwise, what I will do is I will every day here right now. What I'm doing is I have pinned link to the YouTube channel where I upload the recording of these sessions. So similarly, I will be uploading the link to the folder, Google Drive folder. Ria, give me some time. I need to get sorted and organized with all the PDFs. In next week's session, I will share a link to the folder where week 1, week 2, week 3 PDFs you will find. Okay, and what I will do is by tomorrow I will update that in discussion forum of our current course. So you don't have to wait till the next session. Okay, so I'm sharing everything in discussion forum. Are we addressing class imbalance? No, we are not addressing, because we are not going into actual implementation of machine learning algorithms. This course is of overview nature and not of detailed understanding nature, because if you want to understand how to handle imbalanced data sets and all other things, then that becomes the data analytics course or machine learning course, and then the focus will be shifted to from learning analytics to machine learning. And since it itself is very what you can say, very intense, how to handle unbalanced data sets and all such things, so that will not be covered in this course. This is out of scope for the course itself. This week, major part in final exam. Yes, you can expect at least 2 to 3 questions, theory questions and numericals for sure in one of the concepts, precision, accuracy, recall, or such connected questions, one such table, like question 2 was connected such question, yeah, from 2 to 4, calculate accuracy, recall, precision. So likewise you can expect some such questions, So based on this, first thing first, prepare this matrix of true positive and true negative, so it becomes easy to calculate. Final marks are, I think, 50, not 75, 50. That's the general standard of NPTEL. Will not be doing anything which is not according to NPTEL standards. So you can expect questions similar to what we are solving now and what questions are currently in the assignment. So assignment questions will be little different than this, because this is last year's assignment. Yeah? This year's assignment question is supposed to be a bit different, but on similar lines, in similar way. So you probably would have observed, I have not seen this week's questions, so I don't know what kind of questions are there, but you will observe such data set given to you, and based on that you need to calculate precision, recall, accuracy and so on. So similar questions will be there, values will be changing, so pay attention to that. Oh, I got very tired today. Any more doubts? In today's session, you guys have spoken very little, but I was happy that we discussed a lot. Some doubts were asked then and there only, so we could be on the topic and continue on the topic, on the formula till everybody is clear. So this was intense for me, but it was fun also. I enjoyed today's session. I hope you also enjoyed, and you also this was helpful, I hope. So I spent a lot of time on confusion matrix, because this will be kind of important from exam point of view also, and from understanding also. If you are clear about how to come up with this matrix, then in final exam also you will be able to solve the questions correctly. So I hope now you are confident enough to come up with confusion matrix on your own. That was my end goal, that at least you should be able to do that on your own. Yeah. Okay, good. It's good to see so many yeses in the chat box. That makes me happy. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So are there, if there are no more doubts, then we can close the session little early today, like 10-15 minutes early. That's also fine. Yeah, great. Thank you. Have a happy next week of studying. So this couple of weeks are a little intense in terms of the content which is getting covered in the lectures. But don't worry, we will be doing this revision. So again, for next week, I think it's a good practice to follow actually. You watch lectures and then come here. If you don't have time, watch the lectures in high speed. There is provision in YouTube that you can speed up the playback speed on the videos. So try to speed up the videos, but at least get some ideas, familiarize yourself with the terms which we are using, so that we can focus on only the muddy points or the doubts which you have, so that we don't have to cover the basics of any topic. Like in today's lecture, I was happy that all of you had some idea about what is confusion matrix and what are these words, what is the meaning of the word accuracy, and precision and recall. So if sessions like today go on, then I will be happier, more happier, so that the involvement is not just one way but it is two way and active learning. Yeah, so let's meet next week also, and follow this practice of watching videos and then coming here. Even if there is time crunch, try to follow this. Yeah? So see you all next week. So closing this meeting for now for everyone.